Today, we're violating website terms of service for fun and profit. Thanks for joining me here on TZG-Magic. I'm Blair, and I want to today revisit really quickly analyzing Commander Precons for profitability and show you guys how to do a little bit more massaging in the spreadsheet. And of course, if that was it, if it was just a formatting issue, I would have pinned a comment on the last video and been done with it. But today I want to show you guys also how to do a little bit of web scraping so that you can analyze sales velocity on the precons that you're looking at. And you've already seen the little info card up in the corner taking you to the TCG Bulk Kings video where they talked about sales velocity. And I had said in the last video I wasn't going to get much more into it. It's really just, how quickly you can anticipate things selling. But I wanted to show you guys how I go about scraping that data from TCGPlayer. And as a little bit of a caveat emptor, be forewarned, I do believe that what I'm going to be showing you how to do today is technically a terms of service violation, and it's not the most efficient way, I think, probably to do it. Ideally, we would get this data from an open and available API, but TCGPlayer is not accepting any more applications to their API program, and from everything I've found, none of their current API partners actually open up the data that we're looking at today. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take you through how I would look at the Etherdrift Commander Precons as much as anything, because I haven't looked at Etherdrift yet. So this is going to let me show you how I would do this live. So let's get over to the spreadsheet, and you can see here, well, you can't see here, this is actually my spreadsheet. I have a whole bunch of the Commander Precons in tabs along the bottom, but I've got us a blank spreadsheet right here where we are going to be pasting in the Etherdrift Commander Precons, and we are going to start with the Living Energy deck. And so I'm just going to copy and paste the title of the deck in right here, but not like that. Control-Shift-V will do it without formatting. And I'm already off to a great start because I actually want to grab my column headers here from this other tab. This is the Modern Horizons 3 Commander Precons, which are selling fairly well, by the way. I've broken down a few of those. So we're going to do that, and now we're going to change the name back to Living Energy, and this is just for my OCD. And what we're going to do here is, once again, on the Moxfield deck list, I have this sorted with no grouping by price, and I am primarily interested in seeing if I can make profit on the cards valued at $1 and up. And with the web scraping that we're going to be doing, you can pull market value, but the process is a little bit clunky. Like it's not the fastest thing in the world. And again, if we had an API, that would be the way to do it. Anyway, Control-Shift-V, we're going to paste that in here. And then this is where I kind of left it for you guys last time. And I realized after the fact that it's super easy to reformat this in a way that's a little easier to read. So in this quantity column, we're going to hit equals, and we're going to click up here where the quantity is. And then we're going to get down here in the corner until your cursor turns into that plus. We're going to click, and we're going to drag down, and what that's doing is dragging that formula all the way down. And then with it still highlighted, you're going to hit Control-C and then Control-Shift-V. And so you see that takes this from being equal to B1 to just being 1. And we want to do that because when we sort it here in a few moments, we don't want that value to shift around, right? So on this side, we're going to set this equal to the price. And do not accept their autofill suggestion there, because that's going to make the quantities equal to a value. You don't want to do that. And we're going to drag this all the way down here to the end. Control C, Control Shift V. Cool. Now then, click up here in A, press Shift, hold, click over to C, and highlight all three of these columns. Go up to Data, which is just above where I'm showing on the screen. Come down here to Sort Range, Advanced. Data has a header row, sort by quantity, and actually sort that by Z to A. And the reason for that is that's going to take everything that is more than 1, and that's going to put that up here at the top. And I care about that because sometimes things that are valued $1 and more include the basic lands, and there's like 6 basic forests or 15 basic. I don't care about that. I'm not selling those. So up here in cell A2, hold the Shift button and come down here, and then we are going to right click and hit Delete Cells and Shift Up. We're going to do the same thing here. I don't know why it sorted it that way. We're going to delete cells and Shift Up, and then we're going to delete that. And then we're going to hit this equal sum, and you can see here that it has auto-filled a recommended. So we're going to hit enter and accept that. So in the Living Energy Ether Drift deck, cards valued at $1 and up, we have about $39 worth of market value. Okay, and so what I'm going to do here, I'm going to copy that, I'm going to paste that over here, and we're going to go back, and then we're going to choose the Eternal Might. Again, Ether Drift only has the 2 commander precons. So Eternal Might, we're going to paste that in here so I know which deck is which. No grouping, sorted by price, and then a highlight down to $1. Paste in there. Same drill as before. That equals the quantity. Drag it down. Control C, Control Shift V. This equals the price. Drag it down. Control C, Control Shift V. Highlight the columns. Data, sort range, advanced, header row, quantity Z to A. Shift, delete cells and Shift up. Delete those. Equals, accept that. There's about $39 worth of value at $1 and up in both of these commander precons. Cool. Now the part that I have yet to find a quicker way to do. There's still some manual, but I'm going to start with showing you how I went about figuring sales velocity at first, and then I'm going to show you the new way that I'm doing it. So I'm going to grab this tab and I'm going to pull it over. We're going to put that next to it. And we're going to come over here and we're going to hit buy. And again, I care about TCGPlayer pricing, so I'm going to buy from TCGPlayer. Buy it now, add it to the cart. And then the cart's going to show up here, right? And again, all we care about are these cards right here. Let's start with what I did before. So I would find Rootbound Crag, okay, that says it's selling. Over here, Moxfield was saying that market was $1. Here it's 60 cents. I would still list it at 60 cents. Again, this is just to give you an idea of how quickly the cards from these decks are selling. What I was doing previously, I was clicking on the card, I was going down here, and I was dividing the total sold in the last 3 months, which isn't accurate because Etherdrift has only been out for about a month. So keep that in mind. For Etherdrift specifically, even though we're looking at the 90-day snapshot, we're really only looking at about 30. But there have been 35 sold. Currently on hand, TCGPlayer has 188. And so what I was doing was I was going and I was like equals 35 divided by 188, which is how you figure sales velocity, right? Which is a 0.18 or 0.19 sales velocity. That's really slow. Ideally, you want that to be well over 1. That's not the point of this conversation. The reason I didn't show you guys in the last video how to figure sales velocity is because this is the way I was doing it, and it just took forever. What I'm doing now is I happen to stumble across a video where the presenter was showing how to use the ImportXML function to scrape for the current market value. And honestly, there are actually API partners who have made their information publicly available to where you don't have to scrape that directly from TCGPlayer. Like I said, for my purposes, just the market value listed here on Moxfield is close enough. What I was interested in was that 90-day sales velocity, and ImportXML wouldn't do it. Furthermore, you had to go through and inspect the page source and find a cell address. It was a total mess. But in the process, I found the ImportHTML function, which will let us grab specific parts of an HTML target. And there's different ways to format that. There's the list function. There's table is the one we're going to use. And I'm going to kind of walk you through how I found what I needed. And then, of course, down in the description, I will have cut and paste formula for you guys to throw in. Every now and again, I find that this doesn't actually grab the data I need, but I would rather have to look up 1 or 2 cards than, even in this case, we're looking up 40 cards. And in 5 decks, and there are 20 money cards, 25 money cards per deck, that's over 100, or right around 100 individual cards that you would be clicking through one at a time. So, you see here on the spreadsheet that I have a URL column. And the way we get that is we come back over here into our TCGPlayer cart, and so we look up rootbound crag. We right click, we copy the link address, we Control V, paste that in. Next. Conjurer's Closet. Copy link address, paste. You just do that down through. So I'm going to go ahead and get that done, and then we'll be right back when I take you through the import HTML functions. I'm going to start with just the formula that pulls in our current quantity. I'm going to paste that in. And you can see up here that number one, we're starting with an index function. And let me show you why that is. So if I take away the index and we just look at import HTML, when we paste this function in here, we pull a table, and it's table number 4, okay? And that will come in important when we start pulling the other things. But table 4 gives us the median price, which is $1, current quantity, which is 188, so there's 188 of these rootbound crags on hand, and 56 people have those available. But I don't necessarily care about that, all of that. So what I care about is that table, row 2, column 2, which, as you recall, was the quantity of 188. Let me get rid of this extra column I had to add in. And here on my Doctor Who page, I also have the formulas for the 90-day sales, and then, of course, the sales velocity. So we'll paste that in. And you can see here that on that import HTML, it needs a URL right here. And so instead of pasting that into two different cells, we've put that URL into its own column. Hey, I hope that makes sense for you. Again, if it doesn't entirely, format your spreadsheet exactly the way that mine is, and then you can just use my formulas as I've got them pasted. And again, here on the 90 day sales, you can see that instead of table 4, we needed table 5. Okay, so root-bound Craig, we've sold 35 of them in the last 90 days. Actually, last month, again, Ether Drift is a new set. And there's 188 on hand, giving us a sales velocity of 0.18. That's not fantastic. Keep in mind, though, that that means that at market average, basically it would sell within a year. I don't remember the math on that, because the decimal, you're actually dividing 90 by 0.18. Okay, that'd give you an idea. But what we're going to do here then is we are going to run down through and pull that for all of these. Okay, and again, this can be a pretty slow process. You see that it takes a little time to pull that in. While that's pulling all of this data, I want to once again reiterate, this is, from my understanding, technically a violation of TCGPlayer's terms of service. Okay, if you get blocked from TCGPlayer using what I'm showing you, caveat emptor. I am using Google Sheets for two reasons. Number one, it lets me show you how to do all of this in a spreadsheet that is freely available to everybody. But number two, especially with this data scraping, if you are using Excel on your desktop, that means that all of this data scraping that is possibly a violation is coming from your IP address. By doing this in Google Sheets, it is coming from Google's servers. TCGPlayer wants that SEO. They are unlikely to block Google servers. They might IP block your home address. Again, just things to keep in mind. All right, all of that has loaded in, and we can see that Druid of Purification is selling very quickly. We've sold 1,600 of them in the last, again, 90 days on the spreadsheet, 30 days actually. There are only 383 on hand. Anything with a sales velocity greater than 1 will sell in 90 days or less at market value given current market situation. Okay? Now, you can leave these as formulas so that every time you load the spreadsheet, they will refresh this data. But the more of these HTML indices, there we go, the more of these HTML indices that are in a spreadsheet, the slower I find that they load. So what I do is, after I've got all of the numbers pulled, I Control-C. You can see from sales velocity that Eternal Might, those money cards are selling much faster. Just a few of them under 1, many of them up to double-digit and high single-digit sales velocity. So Eternal Might looks like it would have a very good resale probability, a very good singles sale probability. You should make your money back over time on Living Energy, depending on what you can get these decks for. So if you can get them, the pair of them, for under $80, I'd say that from a resale value or from a resale standpoint, they might be a good investment. But I'm a fairly new player in the TCG sales space, and I have made at least my share of mistakes to this point, maybe even a few of your mistakes. Anyway, I hope that you found some of this helpful, and I hope that it just gives you a little bit more to put in your toolbox. And if you know of a way to speed up getting the URL for the individual cards, by all means, let us know down below, because that is far and away the most time-consuming part of this process. Anyway, thanks again for joining me here on TZG Magic. Hope to see you soon. Thanks.